1913, in the Monte Carlo casino, a roulette wheel landed on black, 26 times in a row. Gamblers in that room lost millions of dollars betting against it because they were absolutely certain that red was due. They were wrong. And here's the terrifying part. Your brain makes the exact same mistake every single day. Think about the last time you made a major decision. A job, a relationship, an investment. Maybe you noticed a pattern. Things were going well or terribly, and you felt it, that internal certainty. I know what's coming next. But what if I told you that feeling of certainty is exactly what gets you killed? There's a mechanism in your brain, a deeply wired ancient survival system that is constantly searching for patterns. It was built to protect you. But in the modern world, it's quietly destroying your ability to think clearly. I call it the dice principle. And once you see it, you'll never look at your own decisions the same way again. In 1958, German psychiatrist Klaus Conrad coined a term, apophenia. It describes something we all do, the tendency to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated things. You see a face in the clouds. You see Jesus on a piece of toast. You see a pattern in 3 bad Mondays in a row and conclude, Mondays are cursed. Now, here's where it gets serious. In a landmark 1985 study, researchers asked participants to predict which button would light up, left or right, in a completely random sequence. The sequence was genuinely random. A computer generated it. No pattern existed. But participants started developing elaborate theories. It tends to go left after 2 rights. It skips this combination. They invented the pattern. And the more they played, the more confident they became, even as they got it wrong. Back to Monte Carlo. What those gamblers experienced has a name, the gambler's fallacy. The belief that past random events influence future random outcomes. If a coin lands heads 5 times, you feel in your bones that tails is due. But the coin has no memory. The dice has no memory, and neither does reality. Each flip is a fresh event. 0 knowledge of what came before. The coin doesn't owe you anything. Now here's what's fascinating, and this is the part most people miss. This isn't stupidity. This isn't ignorance. This is your brain working exactly as designed. For 200,000 years, pattern recognition kept us alive. You heard a rustle in the grass. You assumed it was a predator. Those who didn't assume got eaten. Those who did survived and passed on that wiring to you. Pattern recognition wasn't a bug. It was the feature that built civilization. But here's the problem. We now live in a world that is genuinely random in ways our ancestors never faced. Stock markets, social media algorithms, viral success, career opportunities. And your ancient brain, brilliant at spotting tigers in the grass, is completely unequipped to recognize when it's been fooled. In 1985, psychologist Thomas Gilovich conducted one of the most uncomfortable studies in the history of sports psychology. He analyzed shooting records of NBA players over multiple seasons. He was testing one specific belief, a belief held by every player, every coach, every fan. The hot hand. The idea that a player on a streak is more likely to make the next shot. You felt this. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Gilovich crunched the numbers. He analyzed shot-by-shot data. He accounted for difficulty. He looked at passes, whether teammates believed in the streak. His conclusion? The hot hand doesn't exist. Shooting percentage after a made basket? Identical to baseline. The streak players felt so real, the certainty teammates felt when passing to them was statistical noise. This finding was so unpopular that coaches and players refused to accept it, even when shown the data directly, because the pattern felt real. And that's the crux of the dice principle. The feeling of pattern is not evidence of pattern. Your certainty about what comes next is often the most dangerous moment in any decision you'll ever make.
Let's get specific, because this isn't abstract. You get rejected 3 times in a row. 3 interviews, 3 no's. Your brain says, I see the pattern, I'm not good enough. But 3 rejections from 3 companies in 3 different industries with 3 different interviewers is not a pattern. It's 3 separate coin flips. The 4th interview isn't influenced by what happened at interviews 1, 2, and 3, but here's what the dice principle costs you. People quit at 3 because the pattern feels real. You've been betrayed before, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, and now your brain has a theory. People always leave. Trust never works. I can see it coming. But your past relationships are not a controlled experiment. They involved different people, different circumstances, different versions of you. The pattern you've constructed is your brain doing exactly what it was built to do, protecting you from the predator in the grass. Even when there's no predator, only someone new, waiting to be prejudged by someone else's dice roll. 3 months of good numbers at work, and you start to feel invincible. 3 months of bad ones, and you're ready to quit. But performance, real performance, rarely moves in clean lines. It fluctuates. It's noisy. It contains random variation that looks like signal, but is just noise. The question isn't, what's the pattern? The question is, am I mistaking noise for signal? So what do you do with this? I'm not going to give you a 5-step system because that's not how this works. The dice principle isn't a problem you solve once, it's a bias you manage forever. But here are the 3 questions that have genuinely changed how I process decisions. Is the pattern I'm seeing actually in the data, or only in my interpretation of it? Write down the evidence. Literally, write it down. Patterns that exist in your head often dissolve on paper. How many independent events am I looking at? 3 rejections from 3 different sources are not a pattern about you. They're 3 coin flips. And this one is the hardest. What would I tell a friend who came to me with this exact situation? We are almost always smarter advisors for other people's problems than for our own. Because when it's ours, the feeling of pattern is overwhelming. The dice doesn't know what it's moved, which means the dice prevents inserts. The dice doesn't know what. Because when it's ours, we never process before pressing. The dice doesn't know what it's look, but now we required for more long words, but then make it. The feeling of pattern is not evidence of pattern. The dice doesn't know what it rolled last time, but you do. And that's the problem. Here's what I want to know from you. Which of these 3 scenarios hit you the hardest? career, relationships, or your own track record of success and failure? Leave it in the comments. Just the word, just career, relationships, or track record. Because I want to know where the dice principle is costing people the most. And I'll read every single one. Next week, we go deeper. Because there's a second half to this story. What happens when you know about the dice principle and your brain still doesn't care?